on vinyl and vision.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Vinyl and Vision. Jimmy Drab, your host here. Welcome. Tonight's special guest is Damian Perrini. I've had Damian on the show before. He was a member of the band Tall Teenagers, and he was on with another member, Chelsea Paulus, way back in the first year. And I was glad to have him back on as a single individual because I just like to do interviews that way. It's so much easier. Damian's an extremely talented guitar player, and he's played with a number of bands and probably will be playing with many more in the future. But as of right now, he actually has his first solo song, which is part of a compilation, which is a benefit. It's called "A Hopeful Home for All." It's a House of Hope benefit compilation. It's a compilation of 30 songs of local artists, and it's going to house the homeless, or at least to help house the homeless. And Mikey Apples has put that on, and it's available through Bandcamp. I will put the links into the show notes, so if you're interested in that and doing some good for very little money, then you can do that. Damian has contributed the song called Anna Stone. If you're watching the video, a portion of that song will be played at the very end of the episode, so stay tuned for that, please. Damian's great. He's played in the Tall Teenagers, the Haymakers, the Revival Preachers, and most recently Songbirds, actually, as well. So you can check him out in any of those bands as well. I mean, I know all of those bands have stuff available through Bandcamp, so pick up any of those, because all of them are great. All of them are fantastic. It was my pleasure to speak with him about the Kinks. I knew he was a huge Kinks fan, and I am also a huge Kinks fan. I just had no idea that he was going to choose Arthur, or The Decline and Fall of the British Empire, which is a deeply involved album. And so I was kind of really interested in getting into it and kind of doing some of the research and finding out more about it, and to share that with you all. So stay tuned for that. All we ask is you do the things that you do with the internet, please, here. Like, share, subscribe, rate and review. Just scroll down to the bottom, hit 5 stars. That's all you gotta do. It's awesome. So without further ado, enjoy. All right. So how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Okay. Well, so you happen to choose a record that is equally dismal.
Yeah, it's a downer for sure.
Well, so I mean, so the music itself is kind of totally upbeat, for the most part. There's very few songs on here that really, really bring up any kind of bummer vibes. Even some of the heavier songs have this kind of upbeat tempo to them, and they're good rock songs.
Yeah, I think he's really good at just even when it's dead serious, he's very witty and sarcastic and backhanded. It's always a little more lighthearted than the subject matter is. It's like a long explanation of why life in a place where some people have all the power and the rest don't. It's why that sucks. Just the lack of control you have over your own existence, where it's if you want, you're going to owe somebody money your whole life if you want to have things.
Yeah, there's certainly a universal truth about this record that pertains just as much today as it did when it came out in '69. Totally
applies to what America's like as well.
Right.
No.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. So Damian, let's talk a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? You were born and raised Rhode Island, right?
In Cranston. Yep. You're a Cranston guy, right?
Yeah, originally. I mean, I live in West Warwick now, but I grew up in Cranston my whole life.
Yep, I remember. We go way back, Gene.
Yeah,
you were in the cool band back in school.
Well, you were a West kid.
I was. Yeah.
So we were kind of like rival schools, but
Yeah,
we
but
did meet back
I
then, and
I
like,
didn't have school spirit or anything, so that wasn't.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never let it. Yeah.
right.
Wasn't awful. Yeah.
Huh. I hated my high school experience, but it's just because of who I was, I think.
Yeah.
Because when we were growing up, like this is like, mid 90s, and like the whole grunge thing is happening. Now I'm getting into, rock music.
Yeah.
And, I was in a band, and I was just like, I don't want to have anything to fucking do with these people. These people don't like music. Like they like fucking garbage music.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that was a thing.
So, you kind of glom onto the people that are, most like yourself. And that
Yeah.
was kind of,
I mean, like I definitely had the people I hung out with most during that time didn't, I was in bands in high school too, so I was going to shows a lot and hanging out in Providence, and I had friends at school, but most of me and the drummer and Tall Teenagers went to high school together. His house was like the one we played music at and could hang out at, and it was awesome. His parents were super super cool, and kind of like had the basement, or he had the basement. We called it ours. Like we, there was the same group of people there every day. It was like we felt like we were home.
Yeah.
His parents were super cool. Yeah, it was awesome.
It's always the kid that has the drums. That's
Yeah. We got super lucky meeting him. I got super lucky meeting him. He was, I don't even know, but I don't know how. I mean, my life would have been very, very different if I didn't meet him and he didn't start taking me to shows and get me in a band and stuff. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it would have happened another way. So
yeah. And so growing up in Cranston, what were you like listening to? Like, what was the music around the house?
So my father liked like classic rock and stuff, like good stuff though. He had like Beatles and Cream and stuff I still like today, and like Crosby, Stills and Nash. And my mother was like a huge Beatles fan when she was a kid. She had I got this big stack of stuff from her, of all like the Beatles fan club materials and like all the magazines they were in and newspaper cutouts and like all these charcoal drawings she did of Paul. And so that's like Beatles playing cards and like all this stuff that she just like came across. So that was great. And they also both really liked Queen. And I liked Queen pretty young. I think that I still love them. They're like one of my favorite bands. And then the first thing I really, really loved on my own was probably like Van Halen.
Oh.
And then that was probably like 11, 12. Yeah, and then it was like Van Halen and Zeppelin for me until I met like Sean and those guys, and I found out about punk stuff. I met some other guys through that, and I played in this band called At Any Cost that was super, super heavy and like kind of intricate, and that was cool. We got like a 7-inch pressed from some label in New Jersey, which was cool. And yeah, I played a ton. So that was when I was like still in high school and like freshman year of college, and we got to see some other states and play some cool shows. It was fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I remember that band name too. I must have seen you at some point.
We played with like Hatebreed and Overcast and some bigger bands that got bigger, and yeah, so it was cool. We played like there was a lot of stuff there that I really liked, and there was a lot of different for that like format or whatever. There was people were doing a ton of way different stuff, and so it was just like lots of different kinds of heavy music. It was cool.
Right. So let's see, that's probably early 90s, mid 90s. When do you start getting into like the idea of playing different styles of music? Because from what I know, you've been in like the Haymakers, you've been in Revival Preachers, Tall Teenagers, and now Songbirds, and all of them have these different styles. And obviously your musical taste is very eclectic too. So
yeah, well, so like all the guitar stuff I learned starting out, before I started playing that, like heavier stuff was all just normal rock and roll stuff. I learned like tons of Beatles and Zeppelin and just all the stuff that gives you like the rock moves, like the.
Oh, okay. So you always had the desire to kind of like play different styles of music? It was never like you felt like you needed, like you were kind of dead set, kind of this one genre.
Yeah, well, it was more like I had like a lot of work to do when I started playing in like a rock and roll band, guitar wise. With like my chops weren't where they were when I was doing that stuff. So I had a lot to learn, and you know, in every band I've been in since, I've had a lot to learn about how to play in that band. You know, so when I started doing like more rootsy country stuff, like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't listen to a ton of that stuff. I didn't have like I'd listen to it, but I didn't listen to like learn how to do it. You know,
Right.
And
well, you got really good. I mean, when I talked to Jay Burnt, I was, digging into his catalog, and I was, revisiting the Revival Preachers, and I was just like, watching some old videos of the band playing. And I was just like, holy fuck, Damian is like crazy. Like he's so good.
That was fun band. That was like it was basically like a license to just goof off on the guitar. So like, and eventually I could, make it sound not super annoying and too much, but like it was such a bare bones outfit. It was like acoustic guitar and the bass and a single snare drum. So and it was
right.
I could do a lot. So that was fun.
Yeah. Very cool stuff. Well, you learned it really well. I mean, that was, I think, the thing that stuck out the most. And like, from what I'm learning about, kind of your progression in learning your instrument is that, if you're saying that, the first time, like when you joined the Revival Preachers, that's like the kind of the first time you were starting to play that style of music specifically, and kind of like, trying to recreate.
Yeah, I didn't have any like, I didn't have like I didn't know like what
the fundamentals of like country
basics. Yeah, just like the basics of that style of guitar playing. So like, and I would never like go through the trouble of learning it correctly. So I would like do whatever I could to make it sound kind of like that. And then in the process, it was, just something that I could do.
Before we get into the record, I wanted to ask you about this new solo music you're working on.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a tune out on some compilation that came out yesterday. My friend Mikey put together for a benefit to the agency that he works for, which is to house homeless people. There's a bunch of cool shit on there. It's like 30 songs. And I put on a song that I recorded, I don't know, 2 months ago. And I got my friend John Ferrone to play drums, and he mixed it for me. And my friend Amelia did harmonies. I'm not trying to be like one of those vagabond storyteller types. It's just like it's more like, I'd say like be trying to be like a Tom Petty or Neil Young song if I had to like compare it to something. But,
So now about this song, this is Anna Stone is what the song is called.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on this compilation. Where can people find the compilation now?
That is on Bandcamp. I don't really know how to direct people to it unless it's on like Facebook.
Well, I'll find the link, but I mean, it's Mikey.
Yeah, there'll be a Bandcamp link. I can send it to you. Yeah, it's good cause. It's only like $7, and
it's like 30 songs. It's great.
30 songs, yeah. Short money.
And so you don't think so this isn't something that you're going to kind of keep up with? Like you're not going to keep on producing your own solo work? Like
I mean, I don't know. It is. I'll do it as long as this quarantine stuff is going on. But I'd rather, like I said, play with people.
So so we talked about it a little bit already, about the record that you chose for tonight. So you chose the Kinks, Arthur, or the, what is it called? The Decline and Fall
of the British Empire.
British Empire. Yeah. You brought it up to me, and I love the Kinks. Like, I can't call myself a massive fan, but I mean, I've owned some of their records in the past. Unfortunately, only on CD. And but I love everything that I've heard, and I've listened to everything.
Yeah,
just about everything, I think.
They have a really long, great catalog of tons of different phases, and just a really, I don't know, unique band. Talks about stuff that other people didn't talk about, from the right away. And it's like, I don't know who was doing that. It was like, it wasn't bluesy. It wasn't like country, sad kind of stuff. It was like very distinct style of like, oh man, this is a drag. What's going on? Like, there's pressure. I'm noticing weird things about the world. It's like this guy and his clothes are pissing me off, and it's just it's different. It's not like just very unpredictable, and it's all disguised in really good pop songwriting with interesting chord changes and tons of cool riffs, and so it's just got it all. Well, I think it's weird how much he understands that he's never actually been through. It's like he has like songs about working and how bad having a job sucks, but he's never had a job. It's like he's been a rock star since he was like 19 or 20 years old. So like but like he somehow knows how to put into words how shitty an office job is.
Yeah. So this album, did you know that this is a concept record?
I know. Yeah. Okay. Like there's a story. The insert, I think, has some description of the characters that aren't really specifically mentioned in it, but you can kind of.
You have the records. You have these copies of this record.
Yeah, I got a few. Do you want to see them?
Well, do you have an original
So I got. This is I don't know if it's it's a really early American press.
Okay.
It's got it's the gatefold, and it's got the kangaroo. I don't think this one has the lyrics. Oh wait, yes it does.
Oh, okay.
It's got the
that insert with the Queen. Was that the Queen Victoria?
This must be Victoria.
Nice.
Yeah, so this has all the. Yeah, so this is an early one. I think the other one I had gotten this more recently than the one that I've had for a long time. I don't think it has that stuff inside.
Yeah, like a like a newer reissue.
It's not I think it's still got I just don't think it has the lyrics. Yeah, this one doesn't have the insert.
Okay.
But those things they're usually not there. And I got the 50th anniversary one that came out last year.
Oh, okay.
And that sounds really, really good.
Now, so the thing about this album is that it was actually written it's written as a concept record, but it was written to be to provide the soundtrack to a movie like a made-for-TV movie in Britain that they were making.
Yeah.
I don't think it never happened. Yeah. It got canned at the last minute, just prior to the release of this record, and so this is basically the only thing that survived from that production.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'll probably be able to discuss song by song, like kind of where the story is and where it's going.
Cool. Yeah.
Your kind of like average listener can hear this record and at least be able to associate to the movie and kind of understand a little bit of the backstory that's not it's kind of lost in the music.
Yeah.
But so we're going to start so it starts off with Victoria, so let me just try to play a little bit of that.
Great track.
All right, everybody together, Victoria.
So catchy song, and that's definitely the most like standalone song on the record.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it could be about a girl,
Yeah.
And, it's got a big catchy chorus, but when you listen to the words, it's not that, but
it's definitely a great opener. But it is not about a girl per se. It's actually about Queen Victoria.
Yeah. So I didn't know when Queen Victoria's reign was.
Oh man.
So I looked it up. So and then I learned that this is basically like describing the patriotism instilled in Arthur's dad. It was, there's real pride there, but I think in the way Ray's delivering it, it sounds totally sarcastic.
You're right. So that's actually one commentary I kind of had about this record in general. I mean, I think it's a kind of a theme of Ray Davies in general, is that he's very sarcastic about things. But on this record in particular, because this is the one I've been focusing on for the past few weeks, and I've listened to it a shit ton of times. Let me just tell you.
You're obviously, I get the feeling that you were enjoying it if you listened to it that much.
Oh no, I mean, I love it. I mean, I love the Kinks. I really do. You know, I mean, so that's why when you approached me with the idea of this, I was just like, absolutely, because no one's done the Kinks yet. So this is a great opportunity for me to, like, you know, kind of really dig into it and, like, you know, figure out some stuff about it, you know, learn about it, and also just be able to listen to it for nonstop for however long, you know, in this case, you know, a few weeks. So let me see. So some of the lyrics for this song say, I was born lucky me in a land that I love. Though I'm poor, I am free.
Yeah, that's a great line. Like, what we learned about America growing up and how we found out how so much of it wasn't true. You know, it's just like, but we were told that, like, this is the land of the free. You are free. You have freedom. And, like, we just accepted it because that was the narrative. And then, like, when you start to think about it, you're like, huh, I mean, are we? You know, it's this is that line kind of.
All right, Damian, we're going to get really deep tonight. I can just tell.
I'm into it. I can, because this record is big for me, man.
Well, I mean, because you obviously have grasped it. Okay, because I think that for any person that is not necessarily a huge Kinks fan, for anyone that is not someone that kind of, like, digs into music, you know, more so than just, like, on its face, you obviously understand what's happening here, and it gets dark.
Yeah,
as good and upbeat as these songs are, it's just like, yeah, it's a very
it's a dark work.
It is.
Like, yeah. It's like a manual about why life is shit. And, like, right. It explains why people are anxious, why people are depressed. It's like this thing that's created in these big empires, like, you know, Britain and America. It's not designed for humanity. It's not meant for living for most of the people, you know, except the people that their idea of living is amassing wealth and having power over people. You know, if you want to have your basic needs met, there's a game you have to play and there's things you have to do that you most likely have no interest in. And in some cases, they might even be incongruent with who you are as a person, but there's no way around it. You need to feed yourself. They'll never get that carefree feeling of having your immediate basic needs indefinitely taken care of with what you have at this moment, you know? And so, like, most of us will never know what that's like. Most of us, if we don't go to work for a week and get fired, then we're in big, big trouble. Right. You know, like, there's people that don't have to worry about that because we've done all this shit for them and funneled the money up to them, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Right. And I think I think part of that conversation, part of, like, what you're describing, is that 1%, let's just say, is that these people that, you know, control so much, that, you know, that are basically the heads of these major corporations and the people that truly make all of this money, they never want to stop working. They are probably driven by the fear of being poor, even though they've got so much. Like, if you look at Jeff Bezos, I mean, he's the most, you know, rich man on the planet, and he's got billions of dollars, but does he stop working? No.
Why would he go to work anymore? Like, who?
Exactly. He's driven by fear of poverty, even though he's the most successful person in the world.
I think he's driven by just pure evil greed. Like, in America, in any place that operates like this, they reward the craziest people, the people who are the most ruthless, the people who will put lives at stake to make $1. And it's like, a lot of this record is the callous attitude of the wealthy, you know, royal class, whatever, about soldiers.
Right. And with that being said, let me just go ahead and put on that next song, Yes Sir, No Sir. That laugh after that line.
Yeah, It's like this is all this human life is going to cost us is a cheap medal that we're going to send to the widow.
Right.
Like,
I mean, yeah, it's
sinister.
It is sinister, yeah. I mean, and so it's like just that one chorus that we listened to would like just kind of really summed it up. Was that how be sure to have deserters shot on sight.
Yeah.
Give the scum a gun and make the bugger fight. It's the dispensable life of the military. It's crazy.
And even like it talks about like how little they think of the people that are
risking their lives,
whipped up into this patriotism and actually volunteering to do this kind of stuff. Right. And if they're not volunteering to do this kind of stuff, make sure you get rid of them. And then the added little dig of all it's going to cost us is a medal.
Right.
That's all. That's the end of this transaction. There's no
laughing about it on top.
There's no benefit plan for this family. There's no.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have anything. Our responsibility ends at honoring him.
All right. Well, we should move on.
I'm sorry. I'm talking.
No, it's okay. I mean, because I agree with you completely, and it's a huge, it's a much bigger conversation, and I want to get through the record. All right, moving on.
Some
Mother's Son.
Some Mother's Son is next. Yeah.
Well, so this is kind of like adds the human perspective to that whole militaristic, the military machine that is kind of described in the previous song. And what I really love about this song, I mean, it's a really depressing song when you really listen to it, but I think that it's kind of touches on what you were saying before about how Ray Davies is able to write these songs that like nobody was really touching at the time. And even though there's like, plenty of like anti-war song, like protest songs, especially around this generation, this is the only one that really kind of like makes it blatantly obvious. And then they use the perspective of the mother as well. It's just like kind of putting it on that where it's just like, because any parent can, associate that, like can relate to that. Like, oh, that's my kid. Like, that's my kid that's gonna like get their head blown off in a fucking on a field somewhere. Like,
over your bullshit.
Right.
It's like, and this, like that's the human, like you said, the human part. It's like that's him saying, all right, we're describing this bullshit, but let's stop for a second and think about while this is happening, this is what the rest of us are feeling. We're losing loved ones. We're watching people suffer. The mother will be fine if we send her a medal, or it's just so good.
It is good. I mean, it's great craftsmanship. I mean, it's great songwriting. I mean, this whole album is perfect. So, Drivin', we spoke about you being on tour, like you being in the band, the Haymakers before, and I know that band did a lot of touring.
Hit the road that much.
Didn't you quit your job and like actually officially like work as their booking agent for a while?
I tried, and it didn't go well at all.
Yeah.
We didn't have the work ethic. We were having a lot of fun, and we kind of liked playing in Providence and Boston. We liked the fun part of it.
Right. What was either the best or the worst tour driving story you can think of?
Well, our van in the Haymakers was horrifying. Like it was so we bought it from our friend Rich Gilbert, who was the guitar player in Frank Black and the Catholics for a while, and he was in the Zulus and Human Sexual Response. So this was the Zulus van from whenever they were around, I guess
late 80s,
early 90s maybe, and had, I don't know, like a couple 100,000 miles on it, and a bench bus seat in the back that wasn't screwed into anything, so you kind of had to like balance in it while you were in it was horrifying. Like the amount of like bullshit repairs in the engine was hilarious. It would just start spitting random fluids, and so pretty much every drive in that was bad. I remember one night when I was in the Revival Preachers with Jay, he would always drive because he didn't drink and we did. He would encourage us to really, he'd buy us shots and tell the bartender. So like he liked the way we acted when we were loosened up a bit, and he thought he got a real kick out of it. And he was very comfortable in his stance as a guy who didn't drink, and he, would have fun with it. But he always drove. So, but we left the New Wave Cafe in New Bedford once, and like the exit was blocked off or closed, and we were driving around New Bedford for like 2 hours, and we're like at 45 minutes from home, and like those are the worst. You're like, fuck, you think you're gonna get home. And,
right.
He was so furious, and we're hammered, making fun of him and like making songs about how he's lost and stuff like that. And he's just that was probably a lot worse for him than it was for us. But
all right, well, so then let's move on to Brainwashed. Such a good song.
So bad. And that's great about Dave on this, where it's like that guitar sound is super gnarly, not polished at all. It's like he still gets to sneak in these awesome friggin' guitar things, and like it's still raw as shit. It's
right.
It's such a dope.
As underappreciated as a band as the Kinks are, they have fucking influenced so many people, and influenced like punk rock moving forward, new wave to a degree. I mean, like even off of this album, there have been bands like The Fall and The Jam that have covered them. And like just hearing that sound of Dave's guitar is got to be a predecessor. Like it's like a proto punk.
Well, the sound of it too, and like the balls out guitar solos he does on "You Really Got Me." And I remember even like hearing those on the radio when I was learning guitar. I was like, oh, what is going on here? I'm like, this guy's a hack. Like this sucks. It's all sloppy. And I didn't know why it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then when I learned that he was like 16 or 17 years old when he did it, and like could barely contain his excitement about being in this cool band, and that's what it came off as. And you're like, yeah, shit, this guy is going for it from the very first second. And then the great thing about him too is he gets better with every record for the rest of their career. It's like the jumps that he makes between like when Face to Face comes out, like the jump that he made from the last record before that, Controversy, is wild on the guitar. It's like, it's just
another really good line in this song is, yeah, you're conditioned to think what they want you to think, and be happy to be where you are.
Be happy to be where you are. Yeah. It's like they're telling you that the place they allow you is one that's worthy of your happiness. And that comes up a lot throughout this.
Right. Just like what they do with the next song, Australia. No class distinction, no drug addiction.
Yeah.
So now whether these things are true when it pertains to the actual country of Australia, I don't know. I don't know Australia at all.
Yeah,
I've never been there. But this is another kind of take on like this extremely sarcastic tone of Ray Davies. And I think that realistically, if this was made as a movie, this would be like the commercial in the movie.
But this was like, oh, maybe there's something awesome out there. I'm gonna give this a shot because I've heard it's gonna scratch what itches me, or
right.
A utopia. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. A Shangri-La almost.
Exactly. And the next song being Shangri-La. We should get into that one.
This is a heavy one. Like how he does when he lets you like romanticize something and will just like knock you right back down. This is a good example of that.
All right, there's so much going on here.
There's so much going on.
First of all, let me tell you right now, the next song you record, you need to put a harpsichord in it.
They're so cool.
Well, look,
they're small.
The only way to create
a
hit song is to put a harpsichord in it. I'm telling you, man, you put a harpsichord in a song, it's going to be a hit song.
It's got a sound. It's really cool. Yeah, and it instantly makes it sound like regal. And in an album like this, you need a little harpsichord on. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, so Shangri-La, there's lots to unbox here.
It's a heavy song.
Oh man. All right, so let's get down to the question first. All right. So where or what is your Shangri-La?
Honestly, it sounds like totally goofy, but like some kind of cooperative community with growing our own food and
you're hippie.
Like hippie stuff. Like I don't think I would like it in practice because people aren't as
not everyone picks up the slack that they need to. Dude, my wife has this talk with me all the time. She's just like, why don't we get chickens? I'm like, are you gonna take care of the chickens?
Yeah, there's
Because like I go to work every day. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of ways you could make your life more living off the land more, but like
yeah,
but we also have to do this other thing because that's not real. You know, like that can make you feel a little bit like for a hobby if you want to grow some vegetables or you know, it's not going to feed you year round. It's going to be and it's probably going to cost you money. It's like I put garden beds in last year.
Yeah.
Grow tomatoes and green beans and shit and I could have bought all of those tomatoes for a lot cheaper than the lumber and the soil cost,
and the time and the effort that you put into growing
it's
those
fun.
things.
It's cool to have your own food growing out of the ground, but
absolutely,
if you want to do that to live,
right,
it's just another 10-hour a day job.
That's all the shit that she comes to me with. She's just like, well, like, wouldn't it be nice to like have like farmland and like get some animals? I'm just like, are you gonna take care of the animals?
But then that's your job.
Are you gonna fucking like plow the land? Are you gonna like fucking grow the food? Because like I'm not gonna go do it. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna work 40 hours a week minimum, I'm not fucking going out in the fields and like fucking like planting corn. Like
so I guess like my Shangri-La would be simplicity. And and I'm not a big Grateful Dead fan, but I remember seeing this interview with Jerry Garcia in their house on 8th Street or whatever, where some kind of square interviewer was asking them what their goal was, what their plan was, and he's like, basically, he's like, we have this thing we like to do, and we found a way that we could potentially have a really simple life that involves driving someplace, playing music, and meeting our needs and having fun and doing what we love to do. It's just like something simple. And that's the dream. Have your life simplified to a point where it involves you meeting your needs with something you would do if it wasn't meeting your needs. You know what I mean? I make time for music because I do it anyway because there's my needs are met in another way, and I also love to do music, so I will make the time for that. But if it was actual music that was meeting my needs, that would be the ideal, like what Jerry Garcia described of boiling your life down to something very simple
and do lots of acid.
Yeah, and then because you don't have to show up and do something that requires your concentration. Right. Like I go to work and that requires my focus. It requires it doesn't come naturally to me.
You can't drop acid and then like the next day expect to go to work.
If you're in the Grateful Dead, you can drop acid and go to work, that's got to be the dream.
Maybe they should try that then. Let's try it.
Yeah. They like dress for the job you want. Or like eat the drugs of the job you want. So go to.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there's one thing in this song that fucking really it really fucking grinded my gears.
I wonder if it's the same one that I'm thinking of.
The neighbors call to tell you things that you should
know. That's the line.
They say their lines, they drink their tea, and then they go.
And they tell
your business in another Shangri-La.
Yeah. It's like there's.
So how much do you like Facebook?
Me? Was this on?
No, I'm just saying, like, because those lines.
Oh yeah, all right.
I was just like, this sounds like fucking assholes on Facebook.
Yeah, and then.
Right.
And every single one of them is a Shangri-La according to the people that are living there.
Everybody that lives in a home.
People are going to come visit you, but then they're going to leave and go to someone else's house and talk shit on you.
Exactly.
Back down to earth, asshole. Like you think you're in heaven, but you're.
But they're not telling you; they're telling somebody else.
Yeah.
In their Shangri-La, and like what they think is like the epitome of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell your business. Yeah, it's. That's the fucking line there.
That's Facebook for you.
It's just another one of those things that it knocks you back down a peg.
All right. Well, as much as there is going on in this song, we're gonna move on.
I think we got to the main point of this one.
Yeah.
But so what's next then? After Shangri-La is
Mr. Churchill says, the air siren, man. That's what makes this song.
it's killer. It's rallying the troops. It's
kind of literally, yeah. So I don't have any questions for you about this song.
yeah.
It's just a progression in the storyline of the record. So we're going to move on to She Bought a Hat Like Princess Marina.
So this
tune,
that's brilliant. It wasn't my favorite when I first heard this. It's kind of it gets more interesting as the song goes when it goes double time.
right?
But lyrically, she doesn't have the things that Princess Marina has. She doesn't have the ascot and the pin or she can only afford that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's enough to make her happy because she worships this royalty so much. The ones that are oppressing them have made them envy them so much that they will risk feeding their family to buy a luxury item to feel better about themselves. And it's works so well with celebrity in America.
Oh, Jesus, right.
It's like it.
So it's basically, the idea of like somebody purchasing something to make them feel better for what they lack,
Mm-hmm.
So what is the thing that you have? What is your prized possession?
Ooh.
I know it's got to be a guitar.
It's
got to be a guitar.
It's even my I don't go nuts with the guitars. Like I have several. I would actually enjoy.
All right, but so what have you spent money on that you knew that you were thinking to yourself like, I shouldn't do this, but I kind of want to?
I guess it's the guitars. Like I got this one recently.
What's that? An SG?
It's an SG. It's like a 70s one. It's not like a crazy expensive guitar. It's more than I need to spend being a hobby musician. Like it's a hobby for me, and I obviously don't rely on it, but I still want satisfaction from it.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna move on to Young and Innocent Days.
This is a beautiful one.
Are you gonna cry? Don't cry.
I'm not gonna cry. There's always one or two songs on each record where Dave and Ray's harmonies are breathtaking and indicative of how much time they spent singing and playing together when they were kids. It's just like that kind of harmonies that only brothers can do. So this one to me is the saddest one. Because I think at this point it's late in the story where Arthur's realizing that there's little he can do to improve his situation, and that he has this time in his life where he wasn't bogged down with bullshit and he'll never be able to regain it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like all of our lives.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, imagine when you didn't have to worry about fucking anything. I think about it with my son all the time, where like the fact that he has to do like 10 minutes of homework is like the worst thing that's ever happened to him. Like I envy that so much, just like that. Imagine that being all you had to do to make to lift the weight off your shoulders. It's like, think of the amount of stuff that we have to do to feel comfortable enough to fall asleep peacefully. To
live in our Shangri-La, yeah.
Yeah, it's just so what's next? Nothing to say? Is that
nothing to say? Yes. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna end it there. I know it gets good, but
So I want to hear your take on this one first.
Well, nothing to say. Okay, so from the research that I did, unfortunately, the thing that stands out to me the most is that this is the Kinks' Cats in the Cradle.
Missing out on life. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's a father reflecting on his son. I think that the perspective of this song is the child's perspective. I think for the most part, it's the child's perspective reflecting on their father being like, yeah, okay, I'm here to visit you, but
I got my own shit.
Yeah. We have nothing in common right now. Yeah. Like all we talk about is small talk bullshit that I really don't care to deal with.
No, that's good.
And it's a young guy coming to his dad, being like, a guy older in age, probably closer to the end, and still not having the connection there.
Yeah, because you're just too busy, just working too hard, doing too much shit.
All right, so we have come to the last song of the album.
Yep.
Arthur. All right. Great.
This kind of puts the whole record in perspective. Because
Yeah? How
it's
so?
like he's born a plain, simple man in his working class position, and he has an idea that he wants to improve his place in life.
Right.
And he wastes his whole life trying to improve upon that, and realizes that maybe as good as it can get is the house and the family.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I gather from this. And it's like, at the end, it's like, Arthur, we love you. We want to help you. You know, we're your family. We're here for you. We know you're bummed out about this shit, but, you know,
Right.
settle into it and be close with us. It's kind of hopeful.
It is hopeful. I think that as far as in relation to the context of the album, I feel like this is like a reprieve. Yeah, I feel like unfortunately this is probably him on his deathbed.
Yeah.
Right. This guy that's lived through war, lived through losing a brother to war, lived through losing a son to war, and this is all he gets, you know. I mean, it's the perfect way to cap the story.
It's hard to, you know, to listen to something like this and not be just totally blown away about the skill.
Right. Well, I think that the most important thing about this record is how, like, universal the theme is. Because, I mean, that's what makes a record classic, is that from 1969 when it was released till now, 2021, and it totally still fucking makes sense.
It hasn't aged.
Yeah, he nailed it.
He nailed it. It's the handbook of why life sucks.
Oh, God, does it suck.
Make that the tagline of this episode. Like, the handbook of why life sucks, Arthur.
Yeah. that should have been the subtitle.
There it is. Bam. All right, dude.
All right, David. Well, thank you. Thanks, man. Thanks for suggesting this record. Thanks for letting me look into it. It's been a fucking blast.
Yeah, man. Give me a call anytime. We're rapping.